Welcome to our virtual engineering open house. Today we are having our computer science and engineering student panel. My name is Luz Sandoval Manjarres and I'm an academic advisor with the School of Engineering. This is one event of a series of events to help welcome second year undergraduate students into the School of Engineering. During their first year, students see the Bobcat Advisor in the Bobcat Advising Center, and then at the completion of their first year, students then transition to their declared major advisor. We hope that you can join us in our other upcoming events next week and this week. This event will be recorded and it will be posted on our engineering advising website. So if you need to go back to it, you may do so later on. There is a Q&A section where if you have questions throughout the presentation, you can go ahead and ask the questions there. Today we have two student panelists, Elsa Gonzalez and Michael Noel. Thank you for joining us today. I will be facilitating the event and we'll ask each one of you some prepared questions. So if we can go ahead and start, can you please introduce yourself and let us know why did you choose to come to UC Merced? And we will start with Elsia.
Hi everyone, my name is Elsia Gonzalez. And as you can see, I'm a computer science major. When I first started applying for colleges, my high school years, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. It wasn't until I think my high school counselor recommended UC Merced to me and I did a little bit more digging. And I think what really captured me, I guess, to want to come to UC Merced was like the calm, comfy aura around it. It's super cozy, smaller than most other universities, so it's not as impacted. And I think it's a lot easier to interact with your professors that way too. And since I came from a much smaller high school, I think it helped a lot get settled into an environment like this. And I think UC Merced also offers a lot of useful resources for incoming students and students who are minorities too. There's a lot of resources. You just gotta ask for help sometimes. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
Awesome. When I was in high school, I was an avid, and so ever since I was young, I always knew that I was going to be on the college track. And every semester or two, we would go visit a couple different colleges. They would always say that when you step on college campus that, oh, this is the one that you're going to go to. I thought they were all lying. I thought they were just saying that, just to say it. But it wasn't until I actually stepped onto the Merced campus where I felt like I didn't know why, but I could see myself walking up the hill every single day. I could see myself taking classes here. I could see myself being here. And I just knew that this was the college for me. I actually wasn't always a computer science major. I actually came in originally as an English major. And shortly after taking one of the many computer science classes at the school, I realized that I loved it so much that I wanted to change my majors. And I think that if it was any other school, if I was as fortunate to take one of the great classes taught by any of our amazing professors, I might have stayed on the English track and become a lawyer instead.
Well, I'm glad that you're pursuing something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the CSE major and some of the classes that you've taken that you might have enjoyed, or you currently taking and you're enjoying, and some classes that you might have struggled with?
So for me, computer science and engineering, some of the major classes or courses that I've taken towards my major include software engineering, operating systems, object-oriented programming, artificial intelligence, discrete mathematics, data structures, computer organization, algorithm design, and analysis. Those are just a few to name, but these are all courses that I had to take personally to actually get into computer science and engineering, because I personally, going into this field, I didn't know what computer science and engineering was. I first applied thinking, oh, I just want to be an engineer. What kind of engineer? I don't know. I saw computers and I was like, I'm going to do that and let's go with it. And after 4 years, I still stuck with it. So I think anyone can do it. If I could do it not knowing what it was first going into it, I think you could do it too. I don't think it's that hard. You just got to commit.
Yeah, the computer science major is actually quite interesting. A lot of people, when they think about what most people think of when they think of computer science is like programming and stuff like that. And that is definitely part of it, but there's a lot more to it. The actual science part comes in to doing probability analysis on networks and seeing like how fast something could be on an average day, or how can I make something faster? How can I analyze the situation in a way that gives me the best probability to get the best answer as quickly as possible? And the field is so incredibly broad that it could touch on pretty much everything in the world. Everything from manufacturing to artificial intelligence to the way that you send data to and from a server to get back to both you and or your family. And I think that's one of the greatest things about computer science. And Ilse has said all the hard names of classes. And the names may sound they may sound like kind of intimidating, but they're all taught by absolutely fantastic professors. And I have never left a class feeling like it was a waste of time.
Thank you. What are some good academic behaviors to be successful in engineering lower division classes and in CSE classes?
So personally, something that I learned about lower division courses is that since these are your lower division courses, these will create the foundation for the rest of your upper divisions. So basically your lower division courses will it's basically a makeup of everything you're going to need when getting into a more like specific type of category of CSE. So if you want to do AI, you kind of have to learn the basics of everything before you can even start. And one big tip I would say when it comes to computer science and engineering, I got this from my counselor. She told me for every hour lecture, you should study an additional hour. So this can give you a chance to review your notes, clarify any ideas that you weren't too sure about at first during lecture, and it also helps you add any additional notes and proofread anything that you have. And also remember, lower divisions are very important. So since they are the foundation for everything else, I say take this very seriously, like towards the beginning, because it really does help in the long run.
That is so incredibly true. I cannot tell you how many people that I know in my own major in my same year that just don't care about their lower division courses. Matter of fact, even if you know everything about the course, even if you're like, oh, I learned this in high school, I learned this outside of school watching YouTube videos. Fact of the matter is that's still part of your grade, and you need to take these classes in order to take the ones that are more important to you. And the biggest advice I could give anybody is that even if you feel like you understand, even if you feel like you know this already, even if you 100% know everything already, just go to class. Sit in your lecture. And that's literally the best advice I can give you, because I cannot tell you how many people that don't even do that first step. And it's just so important to just go to lecture and pretend like you don't understand, because you'll learn so much more by doing that, because you never know that one day that you decide not to go could be the day that I don't want to say the word, but that will make you regret for the rest of the year, the rest of the semester.
Mm-hmm. And as the saying goes, you don't know what you don't know. So.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Great advice. Can you talk about your study behaviors and if they changed throughout your college career?
My study habits have improved for the better. I am not the same person I was when first coming into college. I study so much more now. A big thing for me too was I was never very much the type to ask for questions, like ask professors questions or go to office hours. And I think those are actually really important. They really help you with your grade. I personally think that if you don't know something, just ask. Just don't be afraid to ask. Like, no question is stupid, because if you don't know it, you don't know it, and that's okay. And I very much feel like going to office hours, asking those questions, going out of your way to pursue answers really does help a lot. And like I said before, it's important to study outside of lecture. And if you don't do those extra hours, it might make a difference in your grade. It might change a B to a C or a C to B and A. You never know.
That is so incredibly true. I'm actually taking a class right now that is very difficult. Computer networks. It's very, very difficult. Has a reputation in our community that it's one of the harder classes that you take in the CSE major if you ever want to take it. And I go to office hours pretty much every single time they have office hours, which is every single day. My TA and my teacher are very annoyed because I ask a lot of questions, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're there for that. They appreciate that I come in and ask questions and I'm engaging. They're just annoyed that I don't pick it up as fast as maybe and some of my other peers. But the fact of the matter is, in the end, who cares? Who cares if you ask a question? Who cares if your teacher or your TA or your friends think that you're dumb for not getting it like that? Why would you ever care? Because it's you're the one that's learning, and if you're not learning, then what's the point? And I think that mindset is probably one of the bigger ways that the way that I learn and I study has changed over the years. Because in the beginning, I was very much, this is me on my own. I have to do this all by myself. If I don't do it by myself, I won't be able to do it at all. Period. Um, but it did take a while for me to realize that, the teachers are there to help you. Your TAs are there to help you. Your friends and your peers in your major, they're there. They'll be all most likely be more than happy to help, because I found that the average person is extremely excited to share some knowledge with another person. And I think that just like switch of mindset has been the biggest change in terms of how I approach studying and even work nowadays.
And Michael, you talked about computer networks, and
Yeah.
Elsie, I don't know if you've taken that course, but what advice would you give students that are interested in that topic and that would like to take the course? How can they prepare themselves for this challenging courses?
Oh, computer networks is very difficult. The actual theory behind it is not that bad. When you talk about packets and how packets are structured and how they're sent between nodes and network, it's not super hard to comprehend. In fact, the biggest part that most people have trouble with is actually the project. The course is very project based. And so you basically work on one project throughout the entire year, and then you have checkpoints. Those checkpoints are going to be where the majority of your grade comes from. And a lot of people struggle with that because the program that we use, which is called TOSIM, which uses TinyOS as an operating system, as a really easy way to get allow us to write networking protocols and stuff like that. It's not very popular, or at the very least, it's no Python, it's no C++, it's no C# or Java. You'll be hard pressed to look up the answer online and be able to find it. However, there's a lot of source code, there's a lot of documentation, and there is a lot of documentation. And the best thing you can do if you ever wanted to take it is to learn how to search for what you're looking for. And often the hardest part about that is even knowing what you're looking for. Like, for example, recently we implemented a protocol that takes a message and basically sends it to everybody in the network in order to try to send it from point A to point B. And the hardest part for me was trying to find who I can send a message to, right? If I'm sitting next to Ilsia and I want to send a message to Feng, and there are 4 desks between us, how do I send it from me to Ilsia through the other desk to get to Feng? Because there's no great way to take it in other than sending out a message and hoping that you get an answer back. And that just like, I know what I have to do, but it's kind of hard to figure out where I have to go to find it. And the professor and the TA, extremely smart individuals, and they'll honestly be more than happy to help, but they will not write anything for you. And at the very most, they'll kind of tell you what you need to look for. They probably will not tell you where to find it, but they'll like tell you the terms, like what you're like looking for when you're reading through the source code and stuff like that.
Thank you for that. I guess we can go to our next question, and thank you for sharing this, because I know a lot of students struggle with these courses, but and I guess a follow-up question with this, right? You're saying that trying to find some sort of help. Are there any online resources that you all utilize that can help you with some of your classes?
Yeah, you can actually get tutoring from PALS. So that's the school's peer-assisted learning support. And basically they have specific hours set for specific classes. Like if you're taking CSE 20 or CSE 21, they have specific hours for tutoring, and it's all online. So it's easily accessible. And I think that's really nifty that you can get tutored on the specific class you're taking. Once you do get into upper divisions, it does get a little bit harder to find tutors. But even so, you can you can get help from ACM, which is the Association of
Computer machinery, I think, or
Yeah,
something like that.
yes, yeah, computer machinery. And so they are an organization on campus that basically helps you interact with individuals who are also CSE majors of any like grade, basically, like any year, first year, second year, third year, fourth year. It doesn't really matter what year you are, but you can just, they always have coffee and code where you just basically go into a lobby. Now, it used to be in person, but now you can go online through Zoom and have a talk with everyone and ask the questions you need to ask, because there's people there to help you. They're just there to help you whenever you need it.
Yeah, yeah. In terms of like online services, I don't use a whole lot. For the most part, any online things that I kind of typically use very often is like GitHub. And I think that's probably one of the greatest things that I can ever tell anybody. It's just to learn how to use GitHub because everyone uses GitHub and we don't
Yep.
teach. I think we're going to start to in the next like year or so, but everyone should know how to use GitHub, first of all. And second of all, I agree with Ilcia about the whole ACM. Since we're all online, ACM has actually started up their Discord server, has been very active, and they do a lot of their stuff on there. So the coffee and code happens there very often, and it's actually really really cool because, as a matter of fact, Professor Alberto Serpa, who is the teacher for networks, is actually on the Discord server, and he's so funny because he just like roams around and like answers questions like, oh, if you're interested in doing this, you should go look at my course, which is networks. Or there was some kid who was asking about uh, his schedule for this semester and next semester, and if it looked right or if it didn't seem too difficult. And he piped in. He wrote like a 1,000 word like essay basically about, oh, these classes are good, the teachers are good, there's a nice, I recommend you take my course, but not because I teach it, but because it's really awesome. And it's really funny. And it's also a really great place to interact with not only your peers and get help with not only your peers, but also any TAs or graduates or professors. And it's one of the greatest things for networking I've ever seen at the school, or in a biased opinion. Of course.
And how can they access this again?
Yeah. So there's actually it's a Discord server, so I use the Discord program. There is a link. I think that you can find the link on ACM's Cat Life website. I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, I'm not like on the ACM staff or anything like that. But I personally got the invite from my friend who was the president of ACM. So
Okay.
ACM also has their own website called ACM at UC Merced. The actual website is https ucm.acm.org. So there they post all their events, all their contacts, and you can probably find the link to the Discord. But yes, they have all their contact information there and they're easily accessible.
I just looked it up. It is on the Cat Life page. It's at the bottom of their description. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. And then going a little bit about, if you want to share about yourself, what have been some challenges that you have faced as a student?
Personally, I honestly think that my college career, my college time, just being in college has really changed me for the better. I've honestly gone through many struggles. Starting freshman year, my mother was diagnosed with cancer right off the bat, and my family are originally from Los Angeles, so I had to move all the way over here, and that was a really difficult time. But it was something I was able to get through. And as the years proceeded, I think it does get a little difficult going to college consistently and like seeing how your grades fluctuate with your mental health as well. Because personally, around my third year, I had fallen into a depressive spiral. And that's kind of when I started reaching out for like more help through I believe it is called CAPS. Yeah, that's when I started reaching out to CAPS, and I got a therapist, and I started getting a lot of help on like growing myself and developing. And I honestly think college can be hard, and it's okay if you do decide to take a semester off, because I did personally for my mental health. And I do recommend it to anyone else who is struggling right now, especially during times like these. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to step back, to really give yourself a chance to grow, because I know school is for me at least, school is everything. School and work is everything. It's my entire life. But sometimes you have to step back and really give yourself some time to grow and heal.
That is so incredibly true. I would say that in terms of like academics, I wouldn't say that I don't struggle, but it's not like I am failing in any classes. The greatest challenge that I think I go through, and I think the majority of kids go through that they don't really talk about, is actually mental health. In my, I believe it was first year, second semester, early second year, first semester, I ran into some family issues. As a result, my grades dropped quite a bit. I had to take some classes, pass no pass. I had to withdraw from a couple classes, I think, and I actually almost lost my scholarship to the school. For reference, I right now I do have a full ride scholarship to the school. I don't pay anything out of pocket, which is really awesome. I'm super grateful and fortunate for that. Um, and I was in danger of losing it. And if I lost it, I would not be able to go to the school anymore. Um, and I talked about my concerns to my advisor, Fung, who's actually right here, and she gave me advice. She told me what I needed to do. I went to CAPS. I started seeing a psychologist at our school. I filed every appeal that I could. I started going to getting as much help as I could wherever I could because I knew that I wanted to go to college. I knew I wanted to graduate. I knew I wanted to be a programmer, and I knew that if I wanted to do that, I needed to graduate from college. And I think mental health is definitely is one of the greatest challenges that anyone ever faces, especially at our age and in this
Yeah.
day and age, rather.
Thank you for opening up and sharing this. And congratulations on persevering and still continuing, right? And definitely it's okay to take some time if you have to. What has helped you stay motivated and continue your education?
Personally, I think my family has helped a lot. And since I am first born here in the United States, my family immigrated here from Mexico and El Salvador. There's a lot of, I guess, not pressure, but a lot of like excitement in wanting to like be able to get my degree, be able to like move my family forward. And I think an individual who helped me a lot and being able to actually stick with my academics and stick with school was my counselor, Christina Mayo. She helped me a lot. She was someone who really was there for me when I was really going through it. It was super difficult, but she gave the best advice. And when it comes down to it, your academic counselors could be your best friends if you ask for help, if you need it. They've probably seen it all and they can help you, I think. And she is someone that I've really like, she's really helped me a lot through my years here in college.
I would definitely say that the greatest driving force that I have is actually my girlfriend. I met her when I was in high school, and when I came up here, I was here for about a year or so by myself, and then not too long after that, she had some family issues, and so she came up here to live with me. Obviously, the end goal is for us to move in to stay together after I graduate, and that's the biggest reason why I'm driving so hard for school, because I know that I want to take care of not only myself but her and hopefully a family someday. And I know that finishing college, finishing well, and having a good job lined up after college is not only the first step, but it's going to be the most important step in my future. And whenever I think about, oh, I don't want to do this assignment, oh, I don't want to go to class, oh, I don't want to go to a lab, I have to think of not only me, but about her and also about my future.
And that's great that you were able to find that support system to help you keep on going. What are some extracurricular activities that you will recommend students to get involved in? And if you were involved in any, what were they?
As I stated before, ACM, they're really good when it comes to when it comes to helping for getting more involved with your computer science degree. But personally, when I first started getting involved in my school, my first and second year, I was involved with a community service organization called Circle K International, and these were a group of people who, although it wasn't something that was directed towards my major, it was something that brought me joy personally. And we focused on doing a lot of community service events here locally, internationally, and etc. And I think it helps a lot taking on joining different clubs, taking on different challenges, and really trying new stuff to see what you like. And if it keeps you happy, then do it. Why not?
That is so true. I think that everyone should be involved with at least one professional extracurricular at the very least. And if you can, 1 to 2 ones that are just for fun. ACM obviously is the one was the one of choice if you're a computer science major, like both Ilse and I.
Mhm.
But in terms of extracurriculars, there are a lot of ones out there. There is the League of Legends or like gaming clubs if you're playing video games. The gaming clubs here at UC Merced, they always run a lot of really cool events, really cool competitions and tournaments. I think we also have a professional esports team, which is really awesome, really cool.
Mhm.
So if you're interested in that, you can always reach out to them. Tennis, I play tennis. I'm not very good at it, but I like doing it. It's a lot of fun, and I think the tennis club does a lot of really cool work out here. Um, Modern United Nations is a lot of fun. That's the first club I joined when I first became a student. And mock trial, which is really awesome. I did in high school. There wasn't anything here when I first came here. Now there is, and that's because of me and some friends. And so shameless plug, mock trial is great. It's a lot of fun. This year we're actually talking about an attempted poison, or not attempt. Well, it's not attempted, but whether or not someone was poisoned at a bed and breakfast, either intentionally or non intentionally. It's really interesting.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, very cool.
Can you talk about any internships, research, or organizations, right, more in detail that you have been involved in? How have they helped you for your career choices, right, that you might be thinking for the future? And how can students get involved?
Okay, so personally, I did not really take up any internships outside of school or any research outside of the school, but there is a course called software engineering offered by UC Merced, and this is basically a class you take your last year, and it's the capstone, where you're put into projects and we're working with sponsors to develop programs. And I think that if you haven't had any kind of experience before on the real world, I guess this is a good way to start, at least, so you can start seeing how it is to work in a professional manner and how it is to work in a group with an actual sponsor. Yeah.
That's really cool. In terms of like internships and stuff like that, I also have not really done much in terms of internships. I've actually been working. This past summer, I taught programming to some kids through a company called IB Tech. Um, that one I think I got reached out to on Handshake, which is an app that UC Merced sponsors, which is really cool for getting people in touch with other people. Um, but the one that I like telling people about the most is actually I work with um, a research lab at school called the Hive Lab, which is a cultural research center. And what they do is they do virtual architecture kind of. They go to like architectural sites and they take artifacts and they convert them into like digital artifacts so people can view them and display them and stuff like that. It's really awesome. Uh, what I'm doing is I'm actually working on a project that is contracted and partnered with the California state government. We're aiming to pretty much redesign the way that people go to and consume state parks in California. And in maybe 20 years, you might see something that I was working on. That'd be really cool. Uh, um, in terms of how to get involved with things, make friends. I actually got
Yeah.
that job with the Hive Lab because of a senior at the time who I met from Model United Nation, and he thought I was funny, and so he recommended me to the job, and then I got it, and that's really awesome. Um, I was also offered a different job from another friend who was working at an office at school that did a lot of promotional stuff for computer science majors and stuff like that, and I guess engineering and just in general. I unfortunately wasn't able to do that because it would conflict too much with my current one at the Hive Lab. But if you're interested in getting involved, make friends, be friendly, learn how to be friendly in a way that isn't too overbearing. Um, just a simple hello every so often is often enough. But the biggest thing that you can do in order to get involved anywhere is to make a friend.
Hmm. I would like to add also, for anyone who is a woman in STEM, specifically for coding, that there is this organization called Girls Who Code. I recently got involved with them last year, and they do offer opportunities to tutor students in high school, middle school, and elementary more on like coding and just machinery code and stuff like that. So this summer I will be actually I will be participating in their summer camp program where I'll be given the chance to actually like show high schoolers how to code and like the basics, and it should be pretty fun. I'm pretty excited. So just be on the lookout for that. If you guys are interested, Girls Who Code. You guys can easily look it up online, girlswhocode.com, actually. Yeah.
That is really cool that you are getting involved, right? It might not have the title of an internship, but you are doing projects, right? And you are getting involved in your major of some sort. So that's pretty cool that you're going outside of a traditional, right? What's traditional. And for students that might want to reach out to faculty, right, to their professors or to their TAs, and they might feel intimidated, right, thinking about second year students. They might not be too used to going in office hours or reaching out to the professors. Are there any tips that you would want to share with them in regards to how to reach out to professors?
Yeah, of course. So when it comes down to it, if you are interested in reaching out to your professors or any faculty members, you could start by asking anyone you know who is like, I guess, a third year, fourth year, or has some previous experience. But it's pretty easy just contacting your professors through email, asking them, oh, hey, is there any internship opportunities or any research that you're doing right now? Because more often than not, the professors are the ones who are offering these opportunities. They're the ones who have major projects that they're just looking for students to actually start on these research opportunities. So just by sending an email, you can probably have research handed to you the next semester. You never know.
That is very true. It is a little daunting. A lot of times I've met so many people and I know so many people that find it very intimidating to talk to other people, especially people in quote unquote positions of power. You know, it's very difficult for me as a young person who knows nothing about the world to walk up to a person who is twice my age with 4 times my experience in the world and ask them anything in general. Uh, but the greatest advice I can give anybody is to realize that they're people too. They have families, they have their own hobbies, they like to do things on their free time that isn't work and school related. And once you realize that they are just people, it becomes a lot easier. And in fact, if you just ask yourself, if someone were to ask you this question, will it bother you? Oftentimes the answer is no. And that's usually one of the first hurdles that you have to cross over. If you're walking up to a teacher and you're asking them about an internship, and you say, and you want to ask them, it's like, hey, do you have an internship next year? If so, I would love to talk more about it and show you how I can help your lab, right? And if you ask yourself if you feel like you would be offended if someone came up to you and told you that, then maybe don't say it. But most of the time, any normal person will you'll be like, I wouldn't be offended, and they most likely will not be either.
Uh, for some courses that you might have struggled with or had some challenges, how did you overcome it and successfully pass the courses you were having difficulty with? If you ever had difficulty with courses.
Of course, I've had difficulty with courses. Nobody's perfect. And I didn't know what I was going into, obviously, as I stated before, when I was first getting into this major. But something that helped me a lot, because I know my freshman and sophomore year, I was really, really afraid to really talk to my professors. But what really helps a lot is study groups. Study groups saved my life. It's so interesting how just having one study session can really clarify a lot of topics. And it helps because when you're teaching someone else how to do something, you're learning too, because it's helping you retain those thoughts better. So when someone else is teaching you a topic, it's helping them and you. So study groups are the best way to go, and I 100% recommend starting a study group. This is how you start networking with people, making those connections, and helping your grade out. Yeah.
Yeah, your peers are going to be a very, very large resource for you to learn just anything in general. A lot of times you feel kind of weird going up to your TA or your professor to ask a really, really small question. Oftentimes it's a question that your peers are either know the answer to, asked already, or they can help you with in the first place.
Mhm.
And so and it's even easier to ask a peer for help rather than going to your TA or a professor. Other than that, like I said before, I go to office hours a lot, and I think office hours are also one of the greatest blessings that you can have in any course because it's just a time for you to sit down with someone who knows a lot more about you in the subject and kind of just pick their brain about anything, even if it's not related to the course. I actually talked to my TA. I talk to him a lot because I have a lot of questions, and oftentimes I'm just sitting in office hours working on my project, and whenever I have a question, I just ask him. And sometimes we just hang out, and we just talk while I'm working, and building that relationship between your TAs and your professors and your peers is the greatest thing that anyone can ever do. Networking. A lot of people say it's important, and it so is.
Super, super important.
Yeah. And we're already going to our last questions unless we get more Q&A. But do you have any mentors? And if you do, how did you find them?
Me personally, mentors, people who've really guided me in the CSC field, I would say, at least when I first started coming to this school, there was a professor called Professor Daniel, and that's not his real name. Like, he just likes being called Daniel, but he was really someone who I looked up to when it came to CSC. He simplified it so much. He made it so easy to understand for someone who had no idea what computer science was. To me being here for 4 to 5 years, he was one of the people I really looked up to. He was someone who I'm really happy that I took his courses my freshman, sophomore year. I'm not so sure if he's still involved with UC Merced now, but he is someone that I think really motivated me a lot. And also another professor that I really look up to is Angelo Kurvlaw. He is someone who also simplifies CSC a lot and makes it really easy to understand. He is the professor. I believe he taught CSC 30, and he is also the professor of CSE 165, which is object-oriented programming. Yeah.
That is so very true. I love Daniel. Man, he was one of my favorite teachers. He was so funny. He was so chill. The way that he taught was just so simple, and I loved him so much, and he was great. Unfortunately, I agree. I think that he will be leaving either this semester or next. So unfortunately, you may not have the privilege of getting to take any of his classes. But A.K. Angelo Kirilov, brilliant mind. Alberto
Mm-hmm.
Serpa, brilliant mind.
Mm-hmm.
Wandu, brilliant mind. Every person I've ever met, incredibly brilliant. But in terms of mentors, I don't really have a mentor, I guess you could say, but I do have people that I kind of look up to. Um, that friend that I met in Model United Nations that got me my current my job with the Hive Lab, I look up to him a lot. He's doing some really, really incredible work. He's pretty much trying to cure heart attacks, which is really, really awesome. He's developing something that uh, I'm told can predict a heart attack up to, I think he said about like 30 minutes to an hour in advance, which is incredibly the ramifications of such a thing would be revolutionary. And I think it's so crazy that I got to meet someone like that. I got to work with him, and he got me a job, and I would always be forever grateful. I will always look up to him no matter whatever happens.
Thank you for that. And we would like to know what are you, if you're still, if maybe you're exploring, but what are your career plans after graduation?
Hopefully, I'm hoping to pick up a lower level position in a startup company once I am done with my academics. But that's kind of the mission. I'm very much the type of person who goes with the flow of life, and I'm ready to take on any experiences. And I think that's important. If you aren't sure what you're going to do with your CSE degree, that's okay. Start narrowing down on topics that you enjoy most. And from there, start searching internships and volunteer opportunities, anything. Start looking into things that can help you really navigate towards a position. And even if you don't know, that's okay. Just start somewhere, start trying to look for something more. And it will just come to you. Like things always will always end up working out as long as as long as you push towards those goals.
That's true. One of my greatest like life mottos that I go by is that everything will always work out in the end. Everything will always be okay in the end. If it's not okay now, that means it's not the end. In terms of goals after college, obviously the goal is to get a job.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard knowing that I'm not able to like actively look for jobs right now, just because most people they're looking for people that are going to graduate and they can work right away. As a
Mhm.
matter of fact, I was considered and I actually went through to interviews for a position with NASA and also a position for Microsoft and Minecraft Marketplace. Unfortunately, I was turned away because I wasn't graduated yet. Or I wasn't going to graduate soon enough for them. So hopefully in the spring I'll reach out to them again. Tell them, hey, remember me? I'm graduating now. You got something for me now. So we'll see how that goes. I am currently in final interviews for General Motors, doing some software engineering with them, and that'll be really cool. Only bad thing about that was that one is a relocation. The closest place in Arizona, which is really far away from here, really far away from home. So we'll see how that goes. Um, and I've been applying to some other gaming companies like Blizzard and a new one which is created by a co-founder of Blizzard, Riot Games and stuff like that. I don't always get very far. Sometimes I don't think sometimes people don't even look at my resume. But fact of the matter is that's okay. You just gotta keep pushing at it and you just gotta keep applying. I think that I send out an application maybe uh, 4 or 5 applications every single day. And I have got over the course of the semester, I've heard back from like 10. And
Mhm.
so that means I've applied to like hundreds upon hundreds of jobs and internships and stuff like that for for winter break and for when I graduate. And I've only heard back from like 10. That's like a fraction. And so don't be discouraged if you're not hearing anything. Most likely it's just not your fault. And you just got to keep applying. It's the one thing that a lot of people forget about and they just don't care about. And you might find yourself in a rut if you don't want to apply as much as you can.
Mhm. And remember, the worst thing they could say is no or no response
Exactly.
at all. So you're
Exactly.
not losing anything in applying.
Yeah.
It's always give it a shot. Why not?
Yeah. You'll come to realize that you would rather hear a no than to never hear back.
Yes.
And Michael, if you have time to answer this, what are the interviews like, or how did you have to take any type of coding test for some of these
Mhm.
interviews?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it kind of depends on the company. GM, which is the one that I'm going through, is an entry level program and stuff like that. And GM actually has a really interesting I guess paradigm you could say. They don't look at references and they don't do coding interviews because they don't care about that. All they care about is who you are and what you and how you are, because at the end of the day they can always teach you on the job. As a matter of fact, that's what they're expecting to do in the first place. So what's the point of testing you on some really crazy hard problem when honestly you, one, probably will never use it or care about it, and two, you can learn it on the job anyways. I've had to do technical interviews before. They are difficult sometimes. Sometimes they're not very. The best thing you can do is to study for them by doing like lead code or online interview questions and stuff like that. I've had to do coding assignments and assessments, which are similar, but you're not doing it on the spot in front of someone else. It's kind of just like, hey, here's an assignment, go do it, and we want to see your work afterwards, and we'll move on from there. Um, and yeah, the biggest part of the interview is going to be getting your foot in the door. After that, you'll find that that is the hardest part for anything, and that comes from having a good resume and having a cover letter that will get you through the door. Even if you have the world's best resume and cover letter, sometimes you won't even get in the door, and that's
Mhm.
a hard thing. That's a hard one to come to terms with. After that, most times you'll have a screening interview, which is the company saying, okay, we saw your resume. We want to make sure that you're a real person and that you seem more or less okay to move on to the next step. After that, it depends on the company. Sometimes it's going to be an assessment. Sometimes it's going to be a technical interview. Sometimes it's going to be a behavioral interview, which is where they just kind of ask you questions about your life and how you would tackle problems or how you've solved like hard issues in the past or made tough choices just because they want to know more about you.
Mhm.
And you may get multiple different rounds of that, of multiple different rounds of a mix of those. And I think Google does like an entire day long of interviews, and they just do tons of technical interviews and behavioral interviews. So
Mhm.
kind of depends on the company.
Something I would also like to add on that, CSE 100, a lot of what's taught in that course does apply to the technical interviews that you will be dealing with once you do apply for internships and jobs. So pay attention to that course. That course gives a lot of advice on like how to deal with these situations. And I believe the professor teaching that right now is Professor Santosh, I believe. So yeah, that course is basically the epitome of how a interview might go down, basically how you're going to deal with it and how they're going to ask you a question, and you're either in front of them or not. They might be staring at you for a solid hour while you write out a code. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and technical interviews, they're really honestly not that bad. Once there's realistically a finite number of problems that they can ask you, and once
Hmm.
you start going through them, you'll start seeing patterns,
Yeah.
and it's just keep going until you see those patterns, and then you'll be good.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's great to know. Did you ever attended a conference? And if you did, what did you learn from them?
I personally have not, aside from like any conferences that involve like the organization Girls That Code. They hold like conferences for expanding your knowledge on like how to take on more um, like I guess to really prepare you professionally on internships and job applications. They help you with that. They help expand your knowledge in coding, and it also gives you a chance to really, I guess if you want to become a teacher in CSC, it really gives you a chance to be able to see how that would feel like if you wanted to. Since we are a little bit, since Girls Who Code focuses more on like the younger base, it gives us who are a little bit older individuals a chance to be able to teach or take on apprentices. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I myself have never really been to a conference myself. I've been to conferences for MUN, which is Model United Nations. They're not really conferences. We just call them conferences just because I don't really know why. And in essence, they're really just more competitions where we kind of just go and pretend to be delegates from different countries and solve issues. Um, those are really cool though because I get to meet people I never would otherwise. People from USC, UCLA, UC Berkeley, NAU, which I forget what their actual name is, but it's a small university in Arizona. A lot of really cool people that you would never meet otherwise, and I think that's really cool because I mean you never know when that network that you're making, like that social network that you're making, will come in handy. So
And for your last question, so when you picture yourself back when you were a second year student, uh, what general advice would you give students in their second year, and what advice do you think you will have benefit from?
As a second year, I would love to tell myself to not be afraid to get out there. Don't be afraid to step out of your box. Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to ask a professor a question. Don't be afraid to network. Just don't be afraid and don't give up. I really would have told myself that. And I guess I still kind of did listen to myself because I'm almost done with my my bachelor's degree in computer science and engineering. So don't give up, please. Do not give up. And if you need help, don't be afraid to reach out. There's so many people here that care about you, that really just want you to thrive. Whether it be your counselors, your friends, your professors, your TAs, anyone. We're just all here trying to get an education. So don't be afraid to ask questions and don't be afraid to really reach out.
it's true. I actually have a very practical one, and that is don't take all of your your lower division stuff all at once, because I'm coming to the end of my time here at UC Merced, and all I have left are all of the really 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 hard classes, and I got to take them all at the same time. And so I kind of wish that I had some undergraduate courses that I could take in order to like lighten my load, but I'm here. I gotta deal with it. If I could go back, I think that's probably one of the more bigger things that I would change.
Thank you for that. And we wanted to let you know that we're proud of you, that you're almost done. We want to wish you the best and thank you for taking your time and volunteering to share your knowledge and advice.
Of course, of course.
No problem.
This concludes the panel. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day.